All right, so you're ready to dive into the world of fashion A&D engineering? Talk about a cool combo. We're about to break down how to become a clothing technologist, and trust me, this is way more hands-on than you might think.
Absolutely. We're not just talking about picking pretty fabrics here.
Yeah, it's like you're the bridge between what the designer dreams up and what people can actually wear.
You've got it.
And luckily for us, we've got all these awesome resources from RoleCatcher to help us totally rock that interview.
Yeah.
So no more feeling intimidated, right? We're going to unpack what this career really involves, tackle some common interview questions, and even get a sneak peek at how RoleCatcher's AI can give us that extra edge. Because who doesn't love a little AI boost?
It's true. So many candidates miss that part. Tailoring your approach is everything, but we'll get into that.
Music to my ears. Okay, so first things first. This RoleCatcher guide really dives deep right into the day-to-day life of a clothing technologist. And it's not just about the fabrics themselves, it's the whole science behind them.
Oh, for sure. And you know you're going to be working hand in hand with designers.
Ooh, imagine the creative sparks flying.
Right. And we can't forget the whole production process. Got to keep an eye on that from beginning to end.
Talk about a front row seat.
Yeah.
And speaking of important stuff, this guide lays out these 4 career stages, which I love. You know, from junior clothing technologist all the way up to the lead role.
It really paints a clear picture, doesn't it?
Totally. You can actually see how your responsibilities would grow and change over time. But let's be real, we're all here for the interview prep. Right?
Let's do it.
RoleCatcher has got our backs with 9 common interview questions specifically for aspiring clothing technologists. I'm already taking notes.
As you should. These aren't your generic interview questions. We need to be ready to showcase some serious knowledge.
Okay, hit me with a tough one.
All right, imagine you're in the hot seat and they ask you, what inspired you to pursue a career as a clothing technologist? How would you respond to that without sounding, like everyone else?
Okay, that's a great question. Because it's so easy to fall into the trap of giving a canned response.
Right. So instead of just saying you love fashion, dig deeper. What specifically excites you about the technical side?
I like that. So is it the way fabrics are engineered? Or maybe you're obsessed with sustainable fashion and want to make a difference?
Exactly. Show them you're not just in it for the runway shows, you're passionate about the entire process.
Okay, love it. That feels authentic, not like a rehearsed answer. Now, let's say you've nailed that first impression and they throw another one at you. Something like, what are the key factors to consider when designing a manufacturing process? Whoa, that feels kind of broad.
It does, right? But think of it as a system. You're basically designing how a garment will be made, not just the garment itself.
Okay, thanks.
So you've got your cost effectiveness, which is all about finding that sweet spot between quality and, let's face it, budget. Then there's efficiency. We want a production line that's running smoothly and getting those garments out the door.
Makes sense.
And of course, we can't forget about sustainability. Eco-friendly materials, ethical sourcing, minimizing waste, all super important these days.
For sure. But it's not enough to just rattle off a list, right?
Yeah.
We've got to show them we can actually apply these factors in the real world.
Exactly. Think back to your own experiences. Have you worked on projects where you had to, say, come up with creative solutions to reduce waste?
Ooh, good example. Or maybe you streamlined a production process to make it more efficient.
Yes. Weave those stories in.
It's all about showing them you've been in the trenches, you know the deal. Okay, next question from RoleCatcher's Guide is all about quality control. How do you ensure quality control in a manufacturing process? Honestly, my gut reaction is just to say, by paying attention. But I'm guessing that won't cut it.
Probably not. You've got to go deeper. This is where you flex that expertise.
Okay, so more than just saying I'm detail-oriented.
Exactly. Mention specific industry standard methodologies like Six Sigma. It's all about minimizing those defects. Talk about your experience using these approaches.
So if I've used Six Sigma before, this is my time to shine. And this is where I feel like RoleCatcher's AI could be a game changer, because it can give you feedback on whether you're using the right lingo and tailoring your answer to what that specific company is looking for, right?
100%. It's like having a fashion tech expert in your back pocket.
Sign me up. Okay, what's next on our interview question adventure?
All right, let's imagine they throw you this curveball. How do you identify and troubleshoot problems in a manufacturing process? Sounds like they want to see how you think on your feet.
Definitely want to have a clear answer ready for that one. What are some key things we should cover?
Structure is key here. Don't just dive into a story.
Okay, so no rambling.
Exactly. Start with your overall approach. Do you use root cause analysis, process mapping, Lay out your framework and then back it up with a brief, impactful example.
Got it. So instead of getting lost in the details, I'm giving them the executive summary of my problem-solving skills.
Exactly. Show them you're strategic and to the point.
Love it. Okay, I'm ready for the next challenge. What else you got?
All right, this next question from RoleCatcher's Guide is all about staying compliant, which is crucial in this industry.
Oh, I bet. Especially with safety and sustainability regulations always changing, it feels like a moving target.
It definitely can. So when they ask, how do you ensure compliance with industry regulations and standards, you need to demonstrate that you're in the know.
So I should brush up on things like safety standards for garment production, labeling requirements, environmental regulations, that sort of thing.
You got it. And here's a pro tip. Research the company beforehand. See what their specific pain points might be in terms of compliance.
Oh, smart. So if a company's really big on sustainable sourcing, I'd make sure to mention my experience with that.
Exactly. But don't just name drop regulations. Show them you have a system for staying up to date.
Okay, so like mentioning I subscribe to industry publications or attend webinars.
Exactly. Being proactive shows them you take compliance seriously.
It's the difference between just knowing the rules and actually living by them.
You got it.
Okay, I'm feeling more prepared already. What else should we be ready for?
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about taking initiative. RoleCatcher highlighted the question, how do you implement process improvements in a manufacturing process?
Ooh, good one.
Right. This is where you really get to showcase that you're not just following instructions, you're always looking for ways to make things better.
I like that. So how do we show off those process improvement muscles?
Structure, structure, structure. Start by explaining how you identify areas for improvement in the first place.
So do I analyze production data to find bottlenecks?
Oh.
Or maybe I conduct regular audits to see what can be improved?
Exactly. Then walk them through how you actually implement those improvements. Do you use a specific project management methodology?
Ah, good point. It shows I'm organized and have a system.
Right. And do you involve stakeholders from different departments to get everyone on board?
Collaboration is key.
Always. And finally, always highlight the positive impact of your improvements. Did you reduce costs, speed up production times, improve sustainability? Give them those quantifiable results.
I love that. Show them the numbers. And you know what? This is where RoleCatcher's AI feedback can be so helpful because it can analyze our answers and let us know if we're burying the lead or need to add more specific numbers to really back up our claims.
It's like having a coach in your corner, giving you that extra push.
Exactly. Okay, I'm ready to step it up a notch. Hit me with a question that screams leadership.
All right, you asked for it. RoleCatcher flagged this one. How do you manage a team of process engineers? Now, we're not just talking about technical skills. We're getting into leadership and team dynamics.
Okay, so what are they really looking for here? What qualities make a great leader in this field?
Communication is huge, especially when you're dealing with engineers who might have different working styles.
Totally. You've got to be able to speak everyone's language.
Right. You also need to be able to motivate your team, delegate tasks effectively, and create a collaborative environment where everyone feels valued.
So how do you actually convey those leadership qualities in an interview? It feels tricky to like toot your own horn without sounding, well, braggy.
Right. It's a fine line. The key is to show, not just tell. So talk about your leadership style, but then back it up with concrete examples. Like, are you a really collaborative leader who encourages open communication? Or do you take a more structured approach with really clearly defined roles? Whatever your style is, bring it to life with a story.
Got it. So maybe I could talk about a time I led a team through a really challenging project and how my leadership style helped us succeed.
Perfect. That's exactly what I mean. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about staying ahead of the curve.
Yes, so important, especially in fashion.
Totally. RoleCatcher's Guide had this question. How do you stay up to date with industry trends and emerging technologies? This one's huge in fashion tech because things change so fast.
It's like you can't be caught wearing last season's look, right?
Exactly. So how would you show them you're on top of things?
Okay, so more than just saying, I read women's wear daily.
Way more. Mention specific industry publications, websites, blogs. You follow bonus points if they're a little bit niche, you know. Shows you're really paying attention.
Oh, I like that. Like, maybe there's a blog that's all about sustainable textile innovations or something.
Exactly. Or maybe you've attended any cool conferences or trade shows. Those are gold mines for spotting trends.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of staying in the loop, this is where I feel like RoleCatcher's Company Insights feature could be a game changer, right?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine being able to casually drop some knowledge about a recent innovation that company has made in, say, sustainable manufacturing.
Shows you've done your homework.
Big time. It's about going beyond their website and really digging deep.
Love it. Okay, I'm ready for another question.
All right, get ready for this one because it's a classic. How do you balance cost effectiveness and quality in a manufacturing process? This one often trips people up.
Yeah, I can see how that would be tricky. It's like the eternal struggle, right?
Yeah.
Especially in fashion, where trends change so quickly and margins can be tight.
You nailed it. The key here is to acknowledge that complexity. Don't pretend there's this easy answer, because there isn't.
So, no pretending I'm a miracle worker.
Huh, right. Instead, walk them through your decision-making process. Do you use cost-benefit analysis? Do you factor in ethical considerations? Be real, be honest, and give them a real-world example of how you've balanced these factors before.
It's like that classic Project Runway challenge where they have to create an amazing look with a limited budget and time. You got to be resourceful.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, but there's one more thing I want to touch on that often gets overlooked in interview prep. How you actually present yourself on video.
Oh, that's so true. Because so many interviews happen remotely these days, and I've definitely had some awkward moments with bad lighting and weird angles.
It happens to the best of us. But in a creative field like fashion, those first impressions really matter.
Totally. So what's the secret?
Well, that's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered video practice feature comes in. It's like having a personal stylist, but for your interview presence.
Okay, tell me more. I'm picturing like a robot doing my makeup.
I
It's
know.
probably a lot more sophisticated than that, right?
Way more. It analyzes your video for things like your tone of voice, your pacing, even how often you're making eye contact, all those subtle cues that we might not even be aware of, but that can make a big difference in how we come across.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's not just giving me general advice, it's actually tailored to what works well in a clothing technologist interview.
Precisely. It's about helping you project that perfect blend of technical expertise and creative flair.
Okay, so let's say we've aced all those tricky interview questions, even nailed our video presence thanks to RoleCatcher's AI. We're in, right? But then what? What happens after you land that dream job?
That's when the real fun begins. Getting the job is just the first step. Now you're building a whole career, which can go in so many different directions depending on what you're passionate about.
It's like in The Devil Wears Prada, when they show Andy all those different paths you can take within the fashion magazine. Except we're talking fashion tech. So how does RoleCatcher help us navigate this world?
They've got this awesome career guide that breaks down the typical career stages for a clothing technologist. You can see what it looks like to go from entry level all the way up to a leadership role.
Okay, I'm sold. Let's fast forward a bit. I'm a junior clothing technologist, fresh out of uni, totally ready to conquer the fashion world. What's it actually like in those early years?
Think of it as your fashion tech apprenticeship. You're building a super solid foundation. You'll probably be assisting those more senior technologists, getting hands-on experience with everything from quality control to working directly with designers.
Soaking it all up like a sponge.
Exactly. This is where being detail-oriented is key. You've got to be able to follow instructions, really understand those quality standards, and don't underestimate the importance of communication. You'll be interacting with all sorts of people. Designers, suppliers, production teams, you name it.
It sounds like a fantastic way to figure out what aspects of the role you really enjoy. What are you naturally drawn to?
Absolutely. And as you gain experience and confidence, you'll naturally progress to the role of, well, just plain old clothing technologist.
Okay, so less junior, more responsibility. What changes at this stage?
You'll be taking on more ownership, for sure, managing the design and development of garments from start to finish. This means conducting those technical investigations to improve how things are done, making sure the quality is top-notch, and of course, constantly liaising with all those different stakeholders.
So you need a good grasp on both the creative side and the technical side of things.
Exactly. And this is where those problem-solving skills become super important. Remember those interview questions we talked about earlier? Identifying bottlenecks, figuring out how to improve processes. You'll be using those skills every single day.
Makes sense. And I imagine those leadership and communication skills are even more important as you start managing projects and leading teams.
Absolutely. And, for those who really thrive on leading, on shaping the future of the industry, the next step up is senior clothing technologist.
Okay, now we're talking. Senior level, that's the big leagues. What does it take to get there?
At that point, you're not just managing projects, you're a strategic thinker. You're leading teams, overseeing those really complex projects, and you often have a say in the company's overall approach to sustainability, innovation, even ethical production, which is so important these days.
It sounds like a really influential role, shaping not just the clothes, but the entire industry.
It is. And finally, for those who are truly passionate about pushing the boundaries, there's the role of lead clothing technologist.
This is at the peak of the fashion tech mountain. What sets these leaders apart?
They're the visionaries. They have this deep understanding of where the industry has been, but they also have that eye on the future. What are the emerging trends, the new technologies? And they're passionate about mentoring the next generation of clothing technologists.
That's incredible. But I'll admit, it can also feel a little overwhelming. Like, how do I actually get from here to there? How does RoleCatcher's career guide help with that?
It's not just about those job titles. They actually feature real-world professionals at each level. You can read about their journeys, the challenges they face, how they got to where they are. It makes it feel much more attainable.
It's like they've compiled all the best career advice from top people in the industry, all in one place.
That is so valuable.
So, for anyone listening who's dreaming of bringing together their love of fashion and their passion for technology,
Go for it. There's never been a more exciting time to be a clothing technologist.
the future of fashion is waiting. And remember, RoleCatcher has your back from acing those interviews to figuring out your dream career path. Their AI-powered tools and resources are here to guide you. So embrace your creativity, think outside the seams, and dive headfirst into the amazing world of fashion technology. And that's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.